All right. So this is my card game um, using JavaScript, um, HTML, and a little bit of CSS. Um, Within my code, well, within the HTML that I made, um, within here, I had to create a title, which is a war card game. Um, to attach the CSS to the HTML, so whatever changes, such as like as you can see, like the box, like the size of the box in the game, and um, where everything's placed. I using this, I attach main.css to here, which um, will allow this to populate onto HTML when I pop it up in the browser. Um, as you can see here, the class I made is for the button container, which is up top. Or you call it the start button. But the title for what I put within the start button was the War Against Two, which this is populated here. Um, and then for each player container, which would be the opponent one, let the war commence, opponent two. There's a class for each column or each row indicated here. So within the box, as you can see, opponent one. Within the middle box, let the war commence. And then with the third box, opponent two. Additionally, with their scores, which the scores start at zero because the game hasn't started yet. Um, Also attached to HTML would, of course, be my JavaScript, which is my index.js, which you can find here. But within the main CSS, um, this allows me to actually like make the sizes and where I want, the containers align where I want to put them. When it actually populates on HTML on the web browser. So obviously, like I want the player two container on the left side and the player one container on the right side, and then let the war commence is obviously going to be in the middle. Um, and then based just on like percentages of the width, like how big it's going to be when it populates and when it shows up. Like obviously, when I spread it out, it's obviously bigger, but when I shrink it down, you know it still fits on the screen. Um, Within my JavaScript code that I did do, um, a lot of this is from just the video and from the class. I was able to follow along, but honestly, I mean, you have to make a class for player. You have to make class for card in the deck. Obviously, class player, that'd be in the name, the hand, the score, which shows up here, the name, the hand, and the score right here. Um, the cards, which show up once the game starts. Um, the deck being spades, hearts, clubs, the ranks, and then jack, queen, king, and ace. Creation of each card in the deck, which will loop over the suits and ranks, low to high values. Based on the shuffle, we would go ahead and use the Durstenfeld shuffle to allow the shuffle of cards at random. This would also change the outcome of the match once the game starts, because it could switch both. It could switch either opponent. So opponent one can win a game, opponent two could win a game. It would go back and forth. They win it, or I mean, maybe opponent one wins like two or three games in a row, then opponent two would win a game. It all depends. It'd be at random since the deck is being shuffled, or the math of 52 of the 52 cards are being shuffled. Um, which down here shows splits the deck between both opponents. Um, Back to class, which is game, which sorry. Um, oh yeah, the class would just be the game. Um, So when you do click on the War Games 2, you do on here you are prompted to put in a name, but you can't, like, for example, if I click on this and this is blank and I press OK, it's gonna say please enter a player name. Like I can't do anything unless I enter the player's name to actually commence the game. Um, this is actually the commencement of the game. That being create a player, which would be player one, player two. Then you have the deck. It shuffles, so the game deck will shuffle. Then it'll deal, and then actually like will rotate what's going on with the game, and you'll see the results as it goes down. The sync play cards. This will deal the deck to the opponents. Um, and this kind of goes back to the HTML where it's player one score, player two score, I believe. Yeah, like here, this class is attached to player one score. So then when I go back to JS, this is also attached to it. So it actually knows what it's correlating to. This function here loops to the given score slash total for their opponents. And then this will basically say like if player one wins, if player one wins, this would pop up. Else, if player two wins, this will pop up. And also too, like if it's a draw, if else, or else if it's a draw, it'll say it's a draw, no points awarded. And then I could change this if I want to. I could totally delete this and type something else, and then it'll pop up if player one wins, or type something else if player two wins. If you keep going, we'll verify who's the final winner of the game. So basically, same thing up here. This correlates with this, where this will tell us who wins basically, or if it's a draw. This will also prompt based on what's going on. So like this is the start button to start the game. But after the game ends, it'll ask you if you want to play again. The box in the top middle will actually prompt and say play again, and you can click it and then restart the game over again. This gives information on the first opponent. This gives information on the second opponent. As it's like shuffling back who's winning, who's losing, because it'll show you who's winning each game. This updates the calculated score. The timer helps the flow, so like how fast it's going, and then let war equal new game. Is just either a new game or the start of the game. Using const assert equals chai dot assert. Just kind of using a test using chai. So for here example, should return an array of 52 cards. Let you shuffle the deck. A new deck should return an array that is not in the same order as the original, and so forth. So with that being said, let's actually see how if the game runs. It does run, but see. So for example, player one could be Apple. Player two could be Pear. We run it, and it actually commences. But you see, two of diamonds, ace of clubs, queen of hearts. Like it's shuffling the deck based on the cards. And then here, if you keep going, you can see here that obviously Apple has the lead. But also here, see pair wins, Apple wins, Apple, pair, Apple, pair, Apple, pair, Apple, pair, Apple. Obviously, Apple has 14 points, pair has 11. But at some point, they did have a draw, so no points were awarded from that. But overall, Apple wins. And then, as I said before, the prompt will pop up say, "Do you want to play again?" You can. It'll just pop up, refresh it. It'll refresh back to the beginning, and then again, I can choose enter player one again, and then I can play the game again. So for this one, we'll say banana and peach. So let's see. So already this one has different results. Obviously, banana having a bigger lead than peach. The last match was like pretty close. So like the final result with this one would be so Banana wins. So the last match it was 14-12. This one's 14-10, but that's because there was two draws in it. So it's always going to be like random since it's shuffling the deck based on what was coded. So it's always going to have a different outcome no matter what you're doing. So um, that's my project. I hope you liked it. This was pretty fun, and